Welcome. This is my first video in my self-improvement series. Today we're going to discuss the concept of positioning and how to understand positioning better. I've never really found a guide on the internet that really has explained in detail positioning and what needs to happen. And we're going to cover a bunch of concepts in this video about the macro positioning and teamfight positioning, and then we're going to watch some replays in some videos after this to show in action. So the first thing we need to understand is a couple concepts. The first being that HOTS, like the real-time strategy games that it came from, is a game of incomplete information. We don't always have vision of our opponents. We don't always know where they're at. Somebody could be in this bush, they could not be in this bush. We just don't know. It's also a game that happens very quickly. Everything happens in real time. So with those parameters, we need to build a system to understand our positioning that takes into account the fact that we don't always know what our opponents are doing. So the first thing we need to understand is what I'm going to call a strong or weak position. Right now, Raynor is in a strong position because of his structures. Where he's standing, he has support from his buildings, his structures, his turrets. Uh, if we had teammates, this is a custom match. There's nobody else here, so there's no teammates, there's no enemies. But your teammates can help make a strong position. But when you step up, you step out. This is a weak position because if two or three opponents showed up and you're alone, if they're good, they're just gonna kill you, right? So strong, weak. And the reason this is important is you can determine in a match all game long if you're in a strong or weak position. And going off of that information, you're able to make these decisions. So when I initially started to figure this idea out to help me improve my positioning, I thought it would only be used for replays. And my idea was is to watch a replay and then wait until I enter a weak position and then do my analysis. What I very quickly found out is it can actually be done in real time too. You don't have to only do this in replays. And as you do it, it actually gets easier and easier to do this in real time. So what we want to do is go through a series of steps to help us understand in the macro game what we can and can't get away with, what we can do. So we mostly want to focus on when we enter a weak position or we're thinking of entering a weak position. So if I want to step up here or I find myself up here, I need to do a series of checks. So I may find myself randomly, oh, I'm in a weak position. The first part of this check is to ask, what do I know about my opponent's position? We may not know anything. The board may be dark. Like I said, there's nobody else on here. But that's pretty scary, obviously, if we don't see anybody. But the other thing that can be a little tricky is we might see all 5 opponents top lane up here. And this is tricky because what tends to happen psychologically is we don't think of ourselves being in a weak position. We do all the steps in one step and we feel like, oh, they're all top, I'm safe. We come down here, we start to push in. 5, 10, 20 seconds later, we felt safe. They leave top lane, they come down, they gank us, we die. So we really want to keep a constant understanding in our mind when we enter a weak position and be vigilant. So I enter a weak position, they're all top lane, I notice they're all top lane. I'm still in a weak position, but it's okay to do what I'm trying to do. I always want to keep an eye on my condition of why it's okay that they're in that top lane and be aware when they disappear. Anyway, the first step, I enter a weak position or I want to enter a weak position. What do I know about my opponents? Or what do I not know? Sometimes you don't know a lot. Sometimes you're guessing. It is what it is. The next step is, what's my object? What am I trying to accomplish? So one answer is nothing. Sometimes you'll find if you don't understand positioning that you'll randomly get yourself in weak positions for no value. There's no value, there's no reason, there's no benefit. And that's an easy fix. You just simply stop doing that. You simply stop going into these weak positions for no reason. And the other big issue you'll find is you start looking at replays. You'll find, let's say up here at the curse point, there's a team fight going on and they're capping, and you try to step up into the enemies and delay this tribute. It's a bad idea. It's obviously a bad idea, but it's a really quick, has to happen now. You don't have a lot of time to think about it, or we're gonna lose it. And you make a bad decision in the heat of the moment, in the essence of it has to happen right now. Those are two things you're gonna find. So here I am. There's a big team fight going on. I step up, I try to delay, I step up past the opponents, and they just blow me up. Okay, so I delayed it for a second, but I died. And it's because I was trying to accomplish something that if I had more time, I would have realized that was just a bad idea. But those are the two main things you're going to find real quick using this method is, one, doing randomly bad, just randomly being in bad spots for no benefit, and two, these times when it's a bad idea, but it's a spur. You're trying to get a pick. You're trying to stall a curse or whatever, and it's just not a good idea. It's just a bad idea, but you do it anyway because you don't want to. You only have a split second to even think about it, let alone determine how good or bad it is. Anyways, strong position, weak position. What do I know about my opponents? What am I trying to accomplish? And then kind of give it a rating, like, how dangerous is this? I don't know where my opponents are, but I think they're on boss. So it's medium danger, high danger. And here's what I'm trying to accomplish. That's kind of there to give your whole concept something to wrap your mind around. So you're going to get to where you're saying to yourself, this is what I'm going to do. And then you don't really want to find yourself out here. You will sometimes. Oh, I'm in a weak position. Now what? You want to think ahead of time. I want to step up. Here's my object. Let's do the analysis. I'll be in a weak position. What do I know about my opponents? What's the risks? Is it worth doing? Let's go. So that's pretty simple. We'll leave it there for the macro. All right, we have switched now to try mode, and we're going to talk about team fights. So I don't know how well that came across on the macro, but we'll do some more discussions in replays. Let me get rid of my Fury in here. And now we want to talk about a few concepts in a team fight. So the first concept is what I like to call the line. And the closest opponent, which is usually the tank, it should really be more of a circle, but we're going to call it a line. This is the front line. I'm Jimmy here. I'm attacking him. And now where I can attack, here's the front line. This area that I can attack him in, about that far away, that's called the neutral zone. And past the neutral zone, where are my minions? Okay. Past the neutral zone, so front line, neutral zone, and then we have what's called a safe zone. So when I'm over here, I'm kind of between the neutral and the safe. Step up, attack, boom. Front line, neutral zone, safe zone. Now, what can happen here, for example, if I get in the corner here, I know if Arthas steps up, obviously I have no retreat. We'd have front line, neutral, no safe zone. So we use that as we do our replays, just to understand the concept. And the neutral zone, by the way, it depends on your abilities and who your opponents are. Like Stitch's Hook makes that neutral zone a little bit bigger, for sure. The next concept I want to talk about, and I'm getting the concepts out this video, and we're going to, like I said, do a bunch of replays after. The next concept is even, advantaged, and disadvantaged. So when you have a team fight, as it says, you're usually an even fight. You wouldn't mind being either side, or one side has an advantage, and conversely, the other side has a disadvantage. We also have what I call a fresh and stale fight. So when this fight starts, let's assume that there's 10 heroes on the map here. But when you first start a team fight, let's say it's over an objective or something, all your opponents are looking. So if you're coming first, if you're an ETC and you have Power Slide or a Sonya, or I'm an ETC with Mosh, you're a Sonya or an Illidan. If you go in first and attack those opponents, they're fresh. They're looking for that engage. They're looking to counter it. They're looking for you. And when you go in, not only do they have their abilities, but they have their focus, and they can look at you, and they're going to try to counter what you're doing. Doesn't make going in first bad, but you just need to understand that's how it works. And the better your opponents, the longer they're going to stay fresh. But what happens, you've probably all been there, you've got late to a team fight, you come in the backside, and everybody's distracted. They're fighting each other, and you're able to do whatever you want, right? That's because they're stale. They've become tunnel visioned. They've used abilities. They're fighting each other, and you're able to do, like I said, whatever you want in that stale team fight. So just kind of have that concept, fresh, stale, and it's going to help you when you make decisions, positional decisions of should I go in, should I charge in with Sonya? Well, if it's a fresh fight, they're not fighting anybody else. They're not preoccupied. Their attention is focused on looking for that first threat. If you're that first target, it's probably not going to be as good as it could be. Anyway, fresh, stale. We then have initiative and flat-footed. So my mouse is kind of in an awkward spot for this video. It's not where I usually play at, but get this guy out of here. So when you fight your opponents, I'm gonna go past you. Go away. Go away. All right. I'm gonna just get there. Restart the video. So when we fight our opponents, where is this Arthas? When we fight our opponents, the Arthas, I can see the Arthas right now. So I call him flat-footed. It doesn't really matter how powerful or how strong he is or what he can do. Once your opponent knows where you're at on the map and knows what you're doing, they can account for that. And the better you get, the easier it gets for you to defensively adjust to whatever he can do. And even if you can't attack him back, you can avoid whatever he does. So I call this flat-footed because I can see him. Now, the Raynor, he's in the bush here. If this Arthas is a little bit further back, I'm going to have some initiative here. I'm going to sneak up on the Arthas. Let's say I have a teammate here. He comes this way also. And here I am, Arthas. Boom, boom, boom. And for the first second or half a second, I have some initiative. Because he, this is try mode. It's not that big a map. But, he didn't know I was there. I get a jump on him. I get a few attacks off. He may not be where he wants to be. Even if the team's there, even if they have abilities, it takes them a second to adjust and think through. I mean, the better they get, the faster they do it. But they have to adjust and find out, hey, what's happening here? Where did this Raynor come from? What's going on? What do I need to change? And we'll find as we get in team fights, we'll get in these big brawls, and all the players will basically all the players will basically be flat-footed. I'll know where the Arthas is. He'll know where I am. And again, we just need to remember what the concept is and go from there. So the last concept is how to think about being in a strong or weak position in a team fight. For Raynor, it's a little different for each hero, but for Raynor to be in a strong position, I want to be as far away from Arthas as possible. Like right here, attacking back here, I do my attack. That's a good position to be. He's backing up. There's the front line. Let's assume that's Arthas. He left, but there's the front line. I'm back. I can attack. I have a safe zone behind me. Nobody's in front of Arthas. That, for me, is a strong position. But that's not the only thing that makes my position strong. We also look at our abilities and our health. And I like to use a binary system to make it more simple. You mostly have to get a feel. Each hero is a little different. But you need to get a feel for what it means to be in a strong position. Raynor being in a strong position is not the same as Johanna being in a strong position, because she can take a lot more than Raynor. Even at his best, he's not taking the beating that Johanna's going to take, right? But I like to know when I'm in a strong or weak position and know when it changes. Going back to this idea that it's a real-time game, the problem we get into is things change with our hero, and it's happening so fast that we don't mentally understand and adjust for those changes. So let's look at a few details here. What I do is I give myself +1 points for my knockback, because if I get dove on, Arthas comes after me, I just knock him back and walk away. That's a pretty good defensive tool. I get +1 for my health, especially if I take the armor at level 4. So that's +2 points. And then as long as my health is above, let's say 85%, you can adjust this as you play games and per hero to see what makes sense most. But let's say 85% or above, I get a point. If it goes below 85%, I lose that point. So +3, and then 1 more for the mount. So right now, +4. I'm back. I have my penetrating round. I have my hill. I have my health full. I'm on a mount. So I start to fight. Now, I can lose this, though, in more ways than one. If I get too close, right here, I'm in a weak position. Now, there's only Arthas on this map, but his teammates, he would have teammates. They could disable me. They could stop me. Doesn't matter what I have. I'm too close. They could kill me. So this is a weak position, regardless of having these other things. And also, if I take too much damage, I'm gonna give that back. If I take too much damage, even though I have everything else, let's go down to 50%. Okay, so right here, hey, go away, go away. Okay, that's less than 50%. But even though I have all my abilities up, I'm mounted, I'm far away, I'm still in a weak position. Because of my health. After my health gets 50% or less, regardless of these other things, I still consider this a weak position, right? Get back, get back. This is a weak position because my health's too low. So every hero's different. We'll go over some heroes. We'll discuss this further. But my knockback counts as a point. My heal counts as a point. My health counts as a point. My mount counts as a point. So right now I have 2 points. And it's simply a reference. You'll have to get a feel for your particular hero you're playing. What does that mean? What does it mean when I'm in a strong position? What does it mean when I'm in a weak position? How much can I get away with? And then the important thing is that this is useful for is when you're in the middle of a team fight, all the actions happening, you're looking at your opponents. It's mostly you understanding that things have changed. You understanding that this is down, that's down, and that this ability or that ability or this is important to your hero. Some heroes, health is more important than others. The squishier a hero, the less you can afford to lose any life. A squishy backline like Raynor, he can go from 100 to 0 almost instantly. You lose 15-20% of your health. You're already so low. Usually what you find out is if you get hit by a combo, you lose 90% of your health. If you're already down 15%, that's just dead. A lot of tanks can go down to halfway and not even blink. In reality. So that was the end of this video. I have a lot more to talk about. Wanted to get the basics out because I really want to do most of the videos with replays showing the analysis. I've already done a bunch. I haven't recorded them, but I didn't really want to start uploading the replays until I made this video. So if it didn't make super amount of sense, hopefully we'll discuss it some more. And if you have any questions, let me know. Appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Bye.